If you've ever dumped a bag of soil into a cheap raised bed and watched it bow, rust at the seams, or rot out by the second season, you know the frustration. Not every raised garden bed on Amazon is built the same, and the difference between a bed that lasts 20 years and one that's landfill by next spring usually isn't obvious from the product photo. I dug through specs, materials, and depth ratings on 6 of the most talked about raised garden beds out there, and I'm ranking them worst to best, so let's get into it. Number 6. The Keter Urban Bloomer, 12.7-gallon capacity. This is a self-watering elevated planter made from heavy-duty resin, and the self-watering system is genuinely the standout feature here. There's a built-in reservoir that feeds water to the roots from below, a water gauge so you can see at a glance when it's running low, and a drainage tap that lets you empty excess water without tipping the whole thing over. That drainage tap also means you can bring this indoors during a cold snap without worrying about a mess. The catch is size and material. 12.7 gallons is small compared to almost everything else on this list, so you're limited to herbs, a few compact vegetables, or flowers, not a serious vegetable garden. And because it's plastic rather than metal or wood, a product roundup from Fodor noted that some owners found the sides can bow inward once the bed is fully planted, with the included reinforcing sticks not always enough to hold the shape. If you want a low-commitment planter for a balcony or patio, this earns its spot. If you're trying to grow dinner, it's not built for that scale, which is exactly why it lands at the bottom of this list. Number 5. The Best Choice Products, 6x3 by 2 foot outdoor metal raised garden bed. This is where things start to open up in terms of usable growing space. You're looking at a 269-gallon capacity and a genuine 24-inch depth, which is enough for broccoli, beans, and other medium to deep-rooted crops that would stall out in the shallower beds ranked below it. It's built from powder-coated steel plates with 2 internal steel support bars that help the walls resist bowing once you fill it with wet soil, and assembly uses wing nuts and bolts with rubber edging rather than requiring separate tools. Here's where I have to be direct about a limitation. This bed does not include a bottom panel. So like most of the beds on this list, it relies on open bottom drainage into the ground beneath it, meaning it's not a great fit if you're setting it up over concrete or a deck without a barrier layer underneath. If you've got grass or bare soil to place it on, that's a non-issue. For anyone who wants serious growing depth without jumping to a premium modular system, this is a strong mid-pack value pick. Number 4. The Greens Fence Premium Cedar Raised Garden Bed, 4 by 8 feet at 10.5 inches tall. This is the classic wooden raised bed a lot of people picture when they think raised garden bed, and it earns its spot for a reason. It's made in the USA from untreated North American cedar, using 3/4-inch thick boards that lock into routed corner posts using a dovetail design. So there's no tools required and the whole thing can be expanded or stacked later with other premium line beds and add-ons. Cedar naturally resists rot better than most other softwoods without chemical treatment, which matters if you're growing food and don't want treated lumber anywhere near your vegetables. The catch is that 10.5 inches of depth is on the shallower side compared to the metal beds further up this list, and because it's untreated wood, it will weather to a silvery gray patina over time unless you seal it, which is a maintenance step some buyers won't want to deal with. If you want the natural aesthetic of wood and don't mind resealing it every few years, this is one of the more trustworthy cedar options out there. Number 3. The Garvee Galvanized Raised Garden Bed at 61 by 42 by 31 inches. This is a heavier-duty modular option that steps things up from the entry-level Kesfit and Landguard beds. It's built from heavy-duty galvanized steel with an open base design for drainage, and it comes as a modular 3-in-1 kit, meaning you can configure it into different shapes depending on your available space, rather than being locked into one fixed layout. The larger footprint here means significantly more growing area than the compact 4 by 2 foot beds ranked lower on this list, which makes it a better fit if you're trying to grow more than a token herb patch. The honest trade-off is that a bigger modular kit like this involves more panels and more hardware to assemble than the simpler compact beds, so expect assembly to take meaningfully longer than the 5-minute claims you see on the smaller kits. It's also worth noting that galvanized steel alone, without a specific coating name like Alizinc, tends to sit a step below the corrosion resistance of the premium modular systems ranked above it. Still, for the size and configurability you're getting, this is a genuinely solid mid to upper tier pick. Here's a quick heads up before we keep going. The next few beds bring in cedar that costs more than plywood for a reason. A self-watering system built into an actual steel bed instead of plastic. and a modular system so well regarded that competitors get compared against it by name. Let's keep moving. Number 2. The Veikous Elevated Wood Planter with legs, 47 by 22 by 33 inches. This is the bed Bob Vila's testing team named their overall top pick after building and planting several models themselves, praising its footprint and the thickness of its cedar panels. It's made from cedar wood, which the listing describes as weather-resistant and warp-resistant, and unlike the ground-level beds ranked below it, this one sits up on legs with metal rolling casters that include brakes, so you can reposition it around your yard or patio and lock it in place once you find the right spot. There's also a storage shelf built into the base for tools, gloves, or extra potting soil, which is a nice bit of functionality you don't get from a simple box. The catch is that being elevated on legs with a smaller footprint means less total growing volume than the large modular ground beds ranked above it, so this is better suited to herbs, greens, and compact vegetables than a serious row crop garden. If your priority is comfort, mobility, and not bending over to garden, this is one of the better reviewed options for that specific use case. Number 1. The Vego Garden, 17-inch tall, 10-in-1 jumbo modular metal raised garden bed. This is the bed that other brands in this space get compared against, and the reasons show up in the materials, not just the marketing. Vego built this out of what they call VZ 2.0, a zinc, magnesium, and aluminum-coated steel paired with a USDA-approved AXO Nobel paint finish. And according to the manufacturer, that material's corrosion resistance has been verified at the Texas A&M National Corrosion and Materials Reliability Lab, with a stated 20-plus year life expectancy. The modular 10-in-1 design means you're not locked into one shape. You can reconfigure the panels into 10 different layouts depending on how your space evolves over time. The oval design skips sharp corners entirely and adds heavy-duty rubber edging around the rim, which matters if you've got kids or pets wandering near it. Assembly requires no construction experience, just tightening the included fasteners. If there's a catch, it's that a modular system with this many configuration options and this much steel is a bigger, heavier project to set up than the simple 4x2-foot beds ranked near the bottom of this list. So budget more time, and probably a second set of hands for the larger configurations. For durability, material engineering, and long-term value, this is the strongest raised garden bed on this list, and it earns the top spot. So here's how I'd break this down by what you actually need it for. If you're gardening on a balcony or just want herbs within arm's reach, the Keter Urban Bloomer or the Kesfit Oval Bed are your entry points. If you want real growing depth without breaking the bank, the Best Choice Products Bed and the Garvee Modular Kit are your best value picks. If natural wood is non-negotiable for you, the Greens Fence Cedar Kit, the Agronomic Cedar Bed, and the Veikous Elevated Planter all deliver on that front in different sizes and price tiers. And if you want the most durable, longest-lasting bed you can put in the ground and basically forget about for 2 decades, the Vego Garden Modular System and the Birdie's Self-Watering Bed are where I'd point you. If this helped you narrow things down, drop a comment with what you're planning to grow this season, and subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this before you spend your money. Links to every single bed in this video are in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.